Hello, Home First Confirmation students. This is Pastor Adam again. As we're taking a look today at the 8th commandment, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. And in your catechism, if you have that open or available, what does this mean? Luther writes, we should fear and love God so that we do not tell lies about our neighbor, betray him, slander him, or hurt his reputation, but defend him, speak well of him, and explain everything in the kindest way. As you can see in that what does this mean section, there is kind of two sections. Things that we shouldn't do and things that we should do, and we'll get into that. But this whole commandment, as if you watch the parent video or parents that are following along, this commandment is centered on protecting our name, your name and my name. If you remember the second commandment, what is that? But you should not misuse the name of the Lord your God. God is protecting his name as something to be holy, where we're not to lie about God or slander him. Well, a similar sense is the same in the 8th commandment, where God is protecting our name. Another way that we talk about our name is our reputation. And why is that so important? Why is it so important to have our reputation protected? Well, here's an example in the Bible, and I think it's very true from Proverbs chapter 22. The first verse there says this: a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. So here the writer of Proverbs is saying that a good name, a good reputation, has more value than great riches, than money, than gold. A good reputation is valuable. And I think we can see that. You know, if you think about your life, we can have all the money in the world, the biggest house, the most amount of things. But if we don't have a good reputation, well, how many friends would we have? How many people would want to hang out with us if people think of us as a liar, or somebody who cheats against other people, or somebody who is just not a nice person? Well, I don't know if you're like me. Money doesn't seem to be something that would be satisfying if my reputation is pretty poor. So that is what this commandment is guarding against. Now let's go back to the commandment itself. We have, what does this mean? We should fear and love God so that, here's the negative. This is what we're not to do. Tell lies about our neighbor, betray him or her, slander him, or hurt his reputation. So what does this commandment guard against? Well, easy enough, lying against our neighbor. Who's our neighbor, you may say? Now, it's not just the people that are living next to us in our home. Our neighbor is everyone we come in contact with. So what are we not to do? We're not supposed to lie against one another. Do you like people lying against you? I sure don't. We're supposed to not lie against our neighbor. We're not supposed to betray him or her. Maybe you may have a friend, or you look back, or maybe you were a friend who betrayed somebody by sharing things that were meant to remain secret, gossiping with other people. That can be so damaging to somebody. Maybe you've seen on social media where one of your friends, was pictures of them going around and people are commenting negative, hurtful things. This is something that, guys, this is a huge issue in our world today. We see this in the news, in politics, how people just don't get this commandment where we're not supposed to lie against our neighbor, throw them under the bus, or tell rumors about them, because God cares so much about each and every one that he wants us to, and this is the positive, this is what we're supposed to do. But defend him, speak well of him, and explain everything in the kindest way. Now, I think this is important. Now, it can be hard enough to just not lie against somebody, but it can be equally hard to tell everything in the most positive light, to explain everything in the kindest way. Maybe you've had a friend who's been having a bad day, and you can easily go around to your other friends and say, hey, so-and-so, they are just having a bad day, they're grumpy, look at this person, they're never in a good mood. But if you ask that friend, say, hey, friend, what's going on today? Maybe they may tell you that something serious is going on in their life. Maybe they just lost a grandparent. Or maybe things at home are wrong and they're really struggling. Putting yourself in that person's shoes can help you speak well about your neighbor, speak well about your friends, and even those that you may not have something nice to say at all. Maybe your mom or your dad or your grandparents have told you this saying, if you have nothing nice to say, well, don't say anything at all. And I think that's exactly what we're called to do in this commandment. Because not only are we to not hurt our neighbor with our words, we're to defend them and give their lives and to talk about them in the kindest way possible. An example of this could be, maybe you and your family are out on a family vacation and your car breaks down. Maybe you have a flat tire. So a policeman drives by and picks up your family, and you did nothing wrong. The policeman is being helpful, but maybe somebody drives by that knows you and says, "Oh my gosh, that family, they're going to jail. What did they do? Are they selling drugs? Are they were they speeding?" And maybe they took a picture of you, and that gets put all over social media. Well, if they just would have asked you and texted you, you were doing nothing wrong. Your car broke down, no big deal. But you see how harmful gossip can be. I'm not defending your neighbor. We're called to go to one another first. If you have a problem with a friend or a family member or even somebody, go to them rather than spreading lies or speaking about them, dragging their name in the mud in front of everyone else. Another Bible verse from the New Testament that talks about this is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 8, where the Apostle Peter writes, "Above all, keep loving one another earnestly, since love covers a multitude of sins." Now, what he's referring to here is that a loving attitude, an attitude that goes to our neighbor first and says, "Hey, you said some hurtful things against me. I don't want to go around spreading gossip and telling everyone what's going on in your life. How can I help?" And I admit, guys, that can be hard. But what the Bible is telling us, that love can cover a multitude of sins. And as we reach out to one another in forgiveness, work through problems, that is a way that we can share the gospel of Christ. And if we can do that, we can honor the 8th commandment, and that's also how we can keep Christ in our homes first with his forgiveness and his love.